three beautiful gentlemen here today. Welcome, Jeremy.
Hello, Mr. Vapid.
And of course, let's welcome in the inaugural TORC Talk podcast guest, Mr. Daniel1Plainview. Thank you for coming on here.
Thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be the first guest.
How
I'm
you?
excited for it.
Hell yeah! All right. Well, what do you say we get this started? Well,
All right.
before we do start, big thanks to Jeremy for putting this on and letting me do this. This is awesome. And also, I want to mention DRM for pretty much formulating this initial idea through the LERA Race Hub. But yeah, here we are. First of all, Daniel, you are pretty much one of the most prominent figures in the GTA racing community on PS4, and I think everybody would like to know exactly where you got your start in the racing community.
Oh, thanks. I see my character's got his hands folded like I own the game, so I don't know how to change that.
I think you're
Well,
just kind of stuck with.
yeah, I think I'm facing away from you guys, so don't mind my GTA character. No, thanks for doing it. I have always thought that someone should do a podcast in the GTA racing community because it's been going on. The racing community has been going on for since PS3, and no one's really done like a podcast to kind of feature different people in it. And people have tried, but you know, one episode and then just didn't do it again. So I hope you guys keep doing it, and I hope it's a success. And because there's a lot of people that do a lot of events that keep the GTA racing community going. So hopefully it works out. I'm just one sliver of it. I'm just one part of it.
For sure, we're working on getting as many guests as we can lined up for the future. So if anybody in the community wants to come on here and tell their story, please feel free to reach out to us. I know we'll more than likely be reaching out to a lot of people. I won't say yet. I'm not allowed to say it, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, maybe we'll save that for the end
Yeah,
of the episode.
yeah. We'll save it, but we've got at least one pretty big name right now, potentially lined up for the future. So, yeah, it's an amazing idea. I know I've always wanted to hear you guys tell your story. So, yeah, take it away, Daniel.
Yeah. So you asked me kind of how it started, how Core Gamer, or basically how I found the community.
Yeah, yeah.
I started on PS3 and was just racing on Rockstar tracks and fixing up cars, kind of like everybody. And then I figured out there was these communities, so I had joined the community. This wasn't Core; this was a different community, and it was back then. GTA was a lot more popular. Like all the lobbies were full, and all the crews and communities were just, you know, hard to get into, and they were really full. And the community that I had joined, it just kind of was a private community. Basically, they just did everything within each other, within the community, the racing and the car meets and whatnot. And I had started racing there, and I thought it was kind of fast. I thought I was kind of keeping up with people. It's yeah. When you find the racing community, you know, you figure
For
out how
sure,
fast you are.
it's very, very competitive. Very.
Yeah, and I just started a racing event in there, and we had seasons, and I had a playlist, kind of like what the core playlist is. And then one time they had said, "Hey, we're kind of getting tired of racing each other. Let's take it public. Let's go out and try to find other crews to race with and all that." And that was right between the PS3 and the PS4 switchover. And once we switched over, I had started making tracks for the event. And once we switched over, they were all 16, so you had to update them, and there was new features and whatnot. So I made this playlist, and I said, all right. And some of those tracks we're still doing the original tracks I had made, and I started going on Social Club and just started running the playlist. And then you started little by little, the word got out, that we were going to do this big multi-crew event. And then you start seeing, at first you start seeing regular drivers that I was keeping up with, and then you start seeing these fast drivers, which later became like legends, you know.
Mhm.
And you start realizing like there's no way our crew is gonna win this event or even get close. And that
Yeah.
was my first part of discovering the racing community. And I remember messaging back to the community leaders like, you know, I'll host the event. You know, we'll have our drivers in there because it was 30 players, so it was 5 from each crew. It was kind of like a multi-crew battle, and just the crews that were in it were GTA Stalkers. I don't know if you guys remember GTA Stalkers from back then.
Um, no, I some of these crews you're probably gonna mention are gonna
Apex.
be new
I'm
to me.
sorry,
So.
I messed that up. Apex Stop. Apex.
Oh,
Apex.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, no. Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they did a lot of well organized events, and they were really competitive. They had joined. It was Nima, K Doc from them, a couple other drivers. I don't remember now.
Mhm.
Um, in the GTA Race Crew, I had mixed those two up, and GTA Race Crew was probably the fastest crew out there for hot lapping at least, because Apex
Mhm.
Stock did a lot of contact, and that was Murphos, Manny, or King Yolo's wife, Manny, aka Manny.
Yeah.
Murphy's like the fastest driver. He's still the fastest driver out there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I didn't even know who he was. You know, you just like this is early on, and a few drivers know though there was Red Run Racing. I don't know if you remember them, and Domestic Battery, and a couple other well-known drivers. And I started to see. I didn't see Murphos into the event, but I seen Manny, and I had seen K Dog and Nima race on the playlist, just practicing, and just the speed was just amazing. And so I'd message back like, "We're not going to get close to winning this. You want me to cancel it?" I'm like, no, let's just keep doing it. And it just started adding up. You know, all these drivers started coming in. That's how I found it.
Okay, so yeah. So that's how you found the community. What transitioned into starting a full crew, and who were some of the main players involved in that?
Well, when we were doing the playlist, we were promoting the event, and I was
Mhm.
going out in public and basically it said timed out. You just got to move your controller around, right? Um, I was basically promoting it, and throughout the way, I was meeting, you know, like Johnny Rotten's girl. We met them just randomly, and they're in the crew now. And we met a lot of people, and they helped promote the event. Amigas helped me promote the event. He
Mhm.
knew a lot of drivers back then. And as we were doing that, our crew, the old crew that I was in, this is not core gaming, was falling apart
Wow.
because they were doing a transition to a website, and there was this big fight about who's in the website or who's gonna run. You know, what it was just a bunch of egos over there, and they had like 9 of them running the crew, and they all trying to take credit for everything, and it was just a mess. They didn't know what to do with it because the crew was getting a lot bigger. And in the middle of that, me hosting this event, people that I hung out in the crew that um, and I'll mention the name. Ironics. She's not a racer, but she makes these great videos, or she
Mhm.
did, and and she done some promotional work for Apex Stalkers. Her work was so good that G Unit, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweat Buckets, um, subscribed to her. He actually went and posted on.
Wow.
She did this promotional video for us and for Apex Stalkers, and she just did this massive work for them. And he was impressed, and he's like, "Man, I'm subscribing to you for more, you know, contact." You know, it was a
Mhm.
pretty cool. But anyhow, she did a lot of work, and she's actually been featured in the Rockstar Newswire from her work.
Oh,
Well,
wow.
it
Yeah.
was it was us. It was me, her, this girl named Lords of Troll, which also was featured on Rockstar Newswire for her photography. You've probably seen some of her early photos. Zamir, who was also featured from Rockstar Newswire, and then Block
Wow.
Party, who made a video, was also featured. And well, they don't really. Rockstar doesn't really what's it called? Certify races. Remember they had done a few
Yeah,
of them.
yeah, yeah. They don't really
Yeah,
they tend to not verify the actual quality tracks that are put out by
exactly.
creators.
Yeah, and back then I would have thought, if they did pay attention more to it, maybe one of my tracks would have got there because
Hmm.
early on those tracks
And
were
you,
well played and they're still well played.
yeah,
What's
and you were starting to make those sort of tracks that were being verified at the time, which a couple I think there's a Bruffy track that is decent for what the creator offered at the time, and
oh,
it
they
got
got
verified.
verified? Yeah,
Yeah.
Bruffy got verified. G Unit got, I believe, a verified track. I forget what the name of it is. And that track, I mean, it's a racing track, but I don't know. It's a good track, but there was a lot of tracks out there that
Yeah, yeah.
should have been verified and just weren't. And then you see some of them that were like, what the heck is this track, And they
Hmm.
just,
And they get verified, and it's just like it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but when they verify
What the
people
heck?
work for videos or photography, they were great, great work. And like, yeah, that should be verified. But on the tracks, they just really, I don't think they ever really pay attention to it.
Yeah.
But when we, so when I'm doing this event, the crew's falling apart, and the individuals I just mentioned, they came up to me and said, "Hey, we're going to leave the crew because we're tired of kind of being treated like this." And I'm like, you can't leave right now because I'm like about to host this event. Everyone's signing up. All these race crews. This is like the
Yeah.
racing crew. I finally got into. I heard about it, and then that was my first entrance. And I'm not going to cancel. I can't do it. Just, just hold on a little bit. Let's do the playlist, and then later on we'll leave the crew because the crew was just they were just being disrespectful to people. So
Hmm.
they stuck it out, and we did the event. It went well. Um, I had a lot of help from you guys finding the drivers, and then we ended up leaving Core sometime. I'm sorry, we're leaving up that old crew sometime after that, and we started Core.
Hmm.
And then when we started Core, there was 14 of us, and we came from a crew where there was hundreds of us, and the
Wow.
lobbies were always full. And we had made a website, and just it was just a handful of us, and it was a big change. So when you leave a community and you go to just a few of you guys gaming together, it was kind of a big change. So we're like, we need people to join, right? So
Yeah.
I just started kept making tracks, and I just started hosting a playlist, a weekly playlist, which is called the Core Playlist. I'm sure you guys heard of it. And I started doing that, and I started doing a monthly time trial. And what that did is we got a lot of people to join our playlist, and every playlist we'll put Core in the description in our website, and it kind of helped promote the crew. And the time trial did that too. And we started getting members, but we weren't getting any of like the fast drivers. And core gaming was never made for racing, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't really care about having these fast drivers join. We just wanted people to join the playlist and
For
join the crew, and we didn't care about the speed because back then, um, the crews were really loyal. Like the members were really loyal to the crews, and they had like you had to qualify to be in the crew. Have you guys ever had to do anything like that?
I know, but I've definitely heard and seen of those sort of instances. And Jeremy backed me up on this, but it's kind of, unwritten nowadays for crews, I think, that you just, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So what I mean, to my start, which we won't dive really into, but there was a prospect phase, with our mob, and you had to kind of prove yourself and that you're,
Yeah.
a cool,
Yeah.
calm, collected individual.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely attest to that. So Daniel, you said you started the website and you started putting core in the description of your tracks, which is brilliant marketing.
Hmm.
What about is the timeline of that in terms of what year that was? Was that about 2015, 2016, you'd say?
Well, yeah, we started Core June 15th, June of 2015. Now, this is going to be our 7th year of Core Gaming. That's when the crew was officially started.
That's
Um,
amazing.
but but the tracks were
It's a long
created.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like the tracks like Black Dog and Chaparral Climb and Heartbreaker and these old tracks were all created before that, and I had just transferred them over to our crew because I owned the tracks. The bad part when we transferred over, because Core Gaming is about these people that were really talented in what they did, like Lord of Tro and Ironics. So when they transferred over, like their videos were verified on Rockstar Newswire with the old crew's name and the old crew's logo and all that. So they kind of had a. She actually deleted it. It had like I think it's up to like 70,000 views or something, and she ended up deleting it. At the time, it was like 30,000 because it was the old crew and Lords of Tro. A lot of the photos from the old crew, and they kind of lost all their work. And Zamir had made this big Instagram page for them, and they
Hmm.
lost all their work. And they came over as a core. I was able to transfer the race because I owned the races, so I could just move over. So I didn't lose any of the work that I did. And I remember speaking to someone saying like Zamir was like, "Hey, I did like so much work over there," and I told him, "Look, we're gonna start core, and I promise you, we're gonna run it where we're not gonna break up like that again. We're gonna make sure that we weed out these bad characters, and we're just gonna concentrate on not about speed or who makes what. It's just about good people getting together and maintaining them. And we won't you're not going to lose your work. So put all that effort in this crew, and I guarantee you, you're not going to lose it. You're not going to lose what. We're not going to break up again, and. And he started. He made an amazing color thread on our website. You should go there. It's all these colors. Um, they're colored by Jonas, and he made an index for it. He asked for his permission, and it's an amazing. You can find any color to match the rim to the livery or the rim color to your sweater. So he found all these colors and he made this big index for it, and it's used a lot. I think it's got oh man, I haven't checked a couple 100,000 visits to his thread there.
Just
So
for
it's
the color
color
combos.
thread,
That's
yeah, yeah.
amazing.
It's well organized. So he did all this work, and those are good people. Those are people who are hard to find, and here's this other
Yeah.
crew that just disrespected them. So when we went over here, eventually we got noticed. One of the videos, I think it was Block Party's videos, got featured on Rockstar News. That was our first featured, and they made this article. And by the way, I went to try to look it up, and I guess they don't support Newswire, Rockstar Newswire. It's blank, but we still have the links. But anyhow, and it says All Star. This is what Rockstar posted about Core. It said All Star Group makes their own crew, Core Gaming, and a few other
What?
words, and then yeah, and it said the website.
Wait,
Yeah,
wait. So Rockstar Newswire actually, in a
yeah,
way, promoted Core at one
absolutely,
point.
yeah, absolutely, because we made a feature. Block Party made a video of one of our car meets, sent
Hmm.
it to Rockstar, and he in the description said, "Hey, we're making our own crew. Here's a video of our crew." And here's the members that they've all been featured on your at one point on your newswire,
Hmm.
and like Ironic, Lords of Throws, Amir, and and then they went and looked at they must have looked at our page on Social Club, and they went to our website because there's a link on the newswire article. There was the link of coregamingps4.com. There's the plug right there. Right? But anyhow, So they went over there and they must have looked at it and verified it, and they wrote that amazing article. And I was like, man, that's fantastic. They left my name out of it, by the way. Just saying, they just featured their name. They didn't put my name in there because they don't
Yeah.
verify tracks. But
Yep.
that flooded.
Of
I mean,
course.
everybody started joining, started applying to get into the core, and we would literally get hundreds of applications, or social club to join core. It'd be hundreds a week, and it was just like, man, what do we do? And we have an application process on our website, so they started joining, and we would literally have like 5 of us and literally 25 randoms in there trying to take a crew, and they
Just
did mostly went in for car meets, and then someone would start going information, and that's where it grew. It just kept doing that, and then we ended up getting featured a total of 3 times, and the second time we got featured, no, I think it was the third time we got featured. They finally mentioned my name on there because because Ironics, and they've done a lot of great work. And they finally all they said was, All Star Crew creates a new video or something. I forget what it was. And it said led by Daniel1Plainview, and that was it. And I was like, all right, finally got my name on Rockstar Newswire. While everybody around me got their name on there.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
3 times at that. Not just once, too. 3 times.
I can't.
Yeah, it was 3 times. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't think there's been anybody other than now knowing that Daniel had this, the spotlight put on him. I can't remember any other crew in the community being actually recognized by Rockstar. So that's actually very, very unique.
Yeah, I don't think they do Rockstar Newswire anymore, because if you go to our website, you scroll all the way to the bottom, really fine print on the bottom. There's 3 links there to the Rockstar Newswire, and I went back and I clicked on them when you guys notified me to do this, and they just come out blank. So I don't know if Rockstar Newswire went away or they don't do it anymore.
I feel like they stopped keeping up with it at some point.
Well, they should have, because they did that well. And there was other crews featured as well, and we were just one of them, but I guess they just stopped it.
Interesting. So, well, with that being said, so you start core, right? And you're building its stature.
We started.
Yeah. And you're building your stature, and so this is somewhere around 2015. So, how did you continue to build that popularity?
What we did was, we had those videos, and that attracted a lot of people for our car meets, because core gaming has always done racing and car meets, and we've always done them pretty well. Where you could go to 30, back then it was really busy. It was like a 30-player playlist on a Friday, and then on a Saturday, and our crew go to a 30-player lobby for car meets, where there's no trouble. We weeded them all out, and they're completely 2 sets of different people. You wouldn't see very few. Some of the racers will go into the car meets, but it was a whole, like, people that came on the racing side never seen the members from the car meet side, and people on the car meet side, I would say, like, hey, this guy, or and they wouldn't know anything about the racing side of it. So it's kind of like 2 crews merged together. We did 2 great things, and what we did to keep it going is, of course, those videos helped out, but on the racing side, here's the thing. Back then, the crews were very, like I was saying, they're very competitive for people to join the crew. You had to qualify, like you had to have a certain speed on a lap, on a track, get into the crew, right? That's how it was back then. And like some of the crews that did that was GTA Race Crew. I think they were like the oldest race crew back then. And who was one of the testers? Was Gamerstig was one of the testers there.
Wow.
He would
Wow.
test people and see if they're. Now, he wasn't the fastest driver there. He was fast, but
Oh wow.
at the time, early on in the time,
No, I'm just kidding.
it was Murph was in the
watching.
crew, Yeah, because he had told me, because I heard about your event when you were promoting it, but I couldn't be on the roster because we could only take five because it was Murph, it was Manny, it was Infinite Gold was like Neo Dark Shadow before Neo Dark Shadow. That guy was really fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Dark Eye and this other guy named Topanga or Hot Pocket. The guy kind of had an attitude, but was really fast. He couldn't get in there. There's no way he could join it. So he was like a backup, and he never got called up to that event. But he
Mhm.
was a tester, is what he was telling me. But a lot of crews did that, and I know S Pro from Bacano, he did that, right? So they're all fast, and there was Perf where they were fast. The leaders of each crew, race crew, were fast. We got G Unit was racing a lot then. Garcia's really fast, and and there's Brophy, but they kind of did their own thing.
Yeah.
And then you go to core, and then you had to qualify to be in those crews. Then you go to core, which we did a regular event every week, twice a week, and we had a time trial every month where you submit a video and see if you get your name on the track if you got the fastest lap on it. But the leader of the core from the racing side, it's Daniel1Plainview's lead core. He's slow as hell. Like he's not fast at all. Like you go to all these other race crews and their leaders are fast. Like I'm here to race with like Bacana because he's fast, or I want to race with Murphos or Manny or whatever, or even Nima from GTA Stalkers back. I'm sorry, Apex Stalkers. And then go to race with core and it's Daniel and you're literally passing him up. You're like lapping him on some of the tracks because I just didn't have that speed. I just wasn't there. So I couldn't say, hey, to join our crew, you have to have a certain lap time because I couldn't get the lap time. So I couldn't do that. And a lot of the fast drivers wouldn't join core because Daniel's really slow. We're not pretty slow over there. So,
Mhm.
but a lot of the mid-pack drivers started joining because they either couldn't get into those crews because they were like a couple seconds, they weren't fast enough, so they ended up joining core, and they were still racing against these fast drivers because they were joining the playlist. Because back then, it was kind of like a proving ground, so people were
Mhm.
joining the playlist to see, who could win the playlist, or I could beat you on this track or whatnot. So they were so these mid-pack drivers were joining it just to, you know, still show these guys that they couldn't qualify for, that they're fast and they're keeping
Yeah.
up, and later they ended up getting invited to the crew. So it was kind of like this proving ground that was going on. So
Kind
we
of like
never
a
did that.
developmental sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, and there was crews formed from the core playlist. I remember, this crew called ADHD. Everybody was in there, and I think Demonic Puffy was in it, and Nick J11, I think he started it, and he's known as Jose Cheetah now, but forget his. Back then it was OWST or whatever. But they were all in it. But they ended up picking these drivers from the core playlist. Like, hey, that guy finished top 10, send them an invite. That's what they're doing, which is fine. It didn't bother me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they ended up making crew, and I think that crew fell apart. But so it was this proving ground, and so they would message me like, hey, how to get in your crew? And like, just gotta apply. Just go to our website, apply, and you're in, and just follow our rules. And like, that's it. That's it. And so we were kind of like, if you didn't make it to the other fast crews, you can make it to core, and you'll get first invite to the playlist. And I think we were also towards the end, we're kind of nicknamed the retirement crew. So like, I think Manny stopped racing competitively and said, "I'm going to retire," and he joined core as the retirement crew. He would just do car meets, and I remember K Dog did that too. He kind of stopped racing. I think Nemo was in a car meet one time too. And I used to tell people like, we have the fastest car meet guys. So if we ever get challenged by another car meet crew, we're gonna smoke them. If we get challenged by a race crew, there's no way we're gonna win that. But that's what we ended up doing. Is just letting good people in, and we didn't care about your speed. We just cared about your kind of your personality,
Yeah.
and you conduct yourself. And you're not going to get kicked for being slow, and that's how it grew. At least the racing side of it.
So, wow, that's a lot of things that are new to me. Um, but I don't want to jump too far ahead, and I don't think this is jumping far ahead. But when you're talking about these other smaller crews and you compare them to TORC now, I feel like Core is probably the only active one.
Hmm.
Oh,
And I'd like to say something real quick. So I actually used to join these core lists back in 2017, 20, maybe late 2016, and just the camaraderie I seen with it, and this is before I knew Daniel or DJ or Gamerstick or anyone else. The camaraderie and the fun time I seen in these playlists on these Wednesday and Friday lists was a lot of my inspiration for how I always wanted to eventually the foundation for my crew that eventually ended up being TORC. So I think that aspect is pretty interesting. The impact you probably just didn't have on me, but maybe even other people too, with how you did run your crew at that time in that time frame.
yeah, well, that was what it was based around because we didn't, you know, value. I mean, we do value speed, but that wasn't
Yeah.
gonna save you. So like a fast guy that's gonna, you know, kill everybody at a car meet, you know, or go backwards on a contact race event and thinking he's gonna get away with it because he's fast. No, I would kick him. Like, you know, I don't. I would tell people like, I know we run a time trial and all that, but I really don't care about the speed. You know, I just care
Hmm.
about how you conduct yourself. And I we kicked a lot of fast drivers from our crew. I mean, pretty fast drivers because
Because their attitudes were probably not up to
yeah,
snuff.
or they just thought they were gonna, you know, get away with it. I'm not sure, but I always tell them we're not a racing crew. We're a gaming community. You know, we do car meets. We do just as much car meets as we do racing. So it's just about how you conduct yourself. It was never about that. It was never about speed or getting the fastest drivers. Because back then, you know, all the drivers, all the fastest drivers, they were all taken up. You know, people would try to recruit other people, but you know, we didn't do that because uh, the leader of the crew was pretty slow, so they weren't going to join. So they were all kind of taken up, and they were very loyal back then. Like you would know drivers, you know, like and you talk about crews that are still around. When we started, it's kind of weird. I think the same month that we started, S Pro formed their crew on Social Club, and Coxie. Our birthdays are all in the same month of the same year.
Wow.
Coxie's still going on. They still run a playlist.
And to
Um,
me,
uh,
the difference for me between the, most of those crews is uh, Spro is really more driven around the contact racing GP style sort of deal, and Core just seemed to be that, you know, um, non-contact fun balls to wall
yeah,
playlist sort of deal.
yeah. Well, back then, S Pro was known for non-contact and rockstar tracks. They were actually
Hmm.
Migas knew Bacano really well, and Migas said, "Hey, I know these people. They're very fast, and they're called S Pro. I'm gonna invite them. I'll show them the playlist. I'm gonna invite them to the first event." And then Migas went back to me and said they don't want to join it. You know, so Bacano and S Pro's not gonna join. I was like, "All right," because back then, all they did was rockstar tracks, and they were the fastest drivers on rockstar tracks. So if you ever load, because rockstar tracks were still being played now, but they were still
Yeah.
being played back then. And you will load up. I've been invited to their playlist, and they'll be full of S Pro on. They all did was Rockstar track. They would not do custom back then. And you would see an S Pro driver on the Rockstar track, like, oh man, he's gonna win it, and they just hot lap the hell out of him. Later on, he started going into um, um you know creator tracks, custom tracks, and be started doing more contact and whatnot. But there always been a racing dedicated racing crew.
Hmm.
And Coxie kind of did what we did. They still run a non-contact playlist, and they were more relaxed on their rules, and they just kind of just got together. But the difference there is that they kind of hang out in parties. It's a different language, so their playlists are kind of quiet. When you go to the core playlist, we're all like you said, Jeremy. We're all chit chatting, and we all kind of know each other there, and it's kind of like a hangout. and we do welcome new people, but you know, a lot of it's hard to win races. You're gonna take some losses in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what I
But
appreciated. It was so well organized and ran, and the competitiveness of it. It was just different from what I had ever experienced, before that. So.
and, you want to mention one thing. I was talking about how competitive it was back then, and the drivers were all loyal. And we never had like the first. It's competitive. It's always been competitive in there, but back then it was really competitive. And I swear, a core member never won the core playlist for the first 3 years, probably, or maybe four, because they were always in another tag, right? They might be in core, but they would be in another tag racing, because they had these racing crews. You had to be in your tag to go race, especially on the core playlist, because that's like a proving ground you have to represent.
Hmm.
So, and you would get in trouble not being in your tag, and in the core tag or someone else's tag, and they would like kick you or demote you. And this had happened because Gamerstig was known as a GTA race crew driver, and like Nemo was known as Apex, and I think Murphy's made his own crew called Lone Wolf Racing back then. But core gaming never had its fast driver because they were all taken up. Right? They're all taken up. And then one day, DJ had joined the crew. He applied to be in the crew. I don't know. We have a clause where you have to be 18 and over. He was probably 16, but he's got that deep voice. So, and he spoke to me like, "Hey, I want to join the crew. I see you guys do these time trials and racing." And I was like, "All right." And I assumed he was over 18, but he was like 16, or I don't know how old he was, probably 15. And he joined, and we started doing car meets, and then he started racing with us. And I noticed he was kind of fast. Like right from the beginning, he wasn't winning races, but he was up there. He
Yeah.
was a racer, and he just kept doing that. And then he got invited early on to an Apex Stalker event, the Apex event, and Waddy was in there. I don't know if Nemo was in there, but Waddy was a real fast driver back then. And he ended up winning the event. And Taz, Taz, I'm sorry, he was the crew leader back then. He messaged me. We were all friends. All the crew leaders were kind of friends. Most of us, we do events with each other. He messaged me like, "Hey, I'm one of your drivers. Just one of our events." I'm like, "Really? Wow!" Because we're all mid-pack drivers. Like, who is it? Uh, DJ. Guy named BLJ. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, he just joined the Luongo. He's pretty quick." And nobody, and I go, and I asked him like, "Is he from another crew or anybody?" He goes, "No, he's not. Well, nobody knows of him. He just joined, and um, he was a Noto, what I called I don't know if this is offensive, but I call them Noto T-shirts because back then everybody was in Noto, right? Ruffy would open his crew up, anybody could join it. To join our crew, you have to go to the website and literally apply, like you're applying for a job. So it's really harder to join.
Yeah.
So you see these Noto drivers everywhere, right? And he was one of those guys, and he
I
just
feel like
joined.
some, yeah, I
Yeah,
feel like sometimes you wouldn't just you just to a guy and just not think anything of it. But yeah,
yeah. And he had joined, and he started wearing the core tag and was racing, and then he got started getting faster, and he's a very very quick driver. Kind of underestimated out there, but he is a very quick driver, and he's up there. And it took him a while to develop speed. But then I finally said, after it was a couple of years ago, when I said, Course finally got its fast, because it's not me. Course finally got its fast driver. Because everyone was known by at least one or a couple of drivers from every crew. Finally, we got one that wasn't attached to another crew and went to core. Because even if you went to core, like, oh, that's like K Dog was early on, was hanging out and was in core, and they would say, "Oh, that's a XRL crew driver or Apex driver." They wouldn't, because we were so new in there. But finally, DJ, nobody knew who he was, and it was like, "Hey, that's our driver. That's it. He's our fast driver."
yeah. So he was like the one out there giving the good word about core.
Well, he would just, finally when they would be racing, they would see a core driver, a known core driver, not someone in a core tag. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
where's that guy from? He's from core. They're not known anywhere else. In the top three, top five, and winning a couple races, here and there. And it kind of like, all right, finally, we're representing ourselves on our own playlist. And it took 3 years, 4 years to do that. It's kind of like if TORC ran a playlist every week and you got no TORC driver ever won it for 3 years.
Well, yes, these things take time.
The
But
homegrown driver, homegrown talent.
yeah, true. It's very
Exactly.
true. But with all that being said, what are some of your favorite moments being in the GTA racing community so far? What are some of your favorite moments that you've been a part of?
Um, One, yeah, I have one, because you know, GTA racing, it's it's also a spectator sport, for us mid-pack drivers and slow drivers, we
Hmm.
like to see people compete. You would go watch the videos, and especially back then, people would
Yeah,
post up battles, and there was a lot of crew battles, and I enjoyed watching them and see who beat who and who's fast and all that. And back then, we did a monthly time trial, and one of the time trials was Chaparral Climb. It's a hill track, and someone mentioned it to me. Said, "Hey, you should put Chaparral Climb. It's one of your tracks. Put it on the monthly time trial." Everybody loves that track. It's a pro level track and very competitive. So I was like, all right. So I put it up, and everybody started hot lapping it. I mean, you would see the track and crew battles and people's playlists, and they would hot lap it, and then they would submit. And the way the time trial works is you would do a lap, record it, and submit it to the website. And I have a page on the website, and I will put your track and put your lap time. And if you beat it, I will put the other guy's video on top of the last one, saying, "Hey, new time put in." So all these videos were coming in from all these drivers, and then Neo Dark Shadow was, I still think he's the fastest hot lapper. He submitted a video beating everybody's time that they've already submitted. He submitted his video of Chaparral Climb and beat everybody's time, and everyone was like, "Wow, how'd you get it?" And you could go back to the video; it's still there, and it's got all these posts of like, how'd you do that? And it's an amazing lap. And then people try to beat it, so people were posting it, and they were trying to beat it, and
naturally giving the track a bunch of plays and yeah,
yeah, yeah. And
yeah,
and the track was pretty well known because when I did that event, the first event, that track was on there. And people were like, when you do a playlist, hey, I like that track, you would bookmark it and put it on your playlist, right? And people had liked that track and they would bookmark it and put it on the playlist. So it had got a lot of plays and it was really well known. Like everybody knew the track. So when we did the time trial, there was no disadvantage. Everybody knew the track. They've all had a lot of time on it. So they were trying to beat his time, and then he puts another video beating his original time, and it was just out there. And then it stopped. I was getting all these video submissions, and then it stopped. After the second video, I got no more submissions for the last week, and the time trials for 1 month. It was over. He got the lap time. I was like, man, that's amazing. Well, what we would do is when we would do like a victory lap. So he got the time trial. So the next playlist, I will put it on the track. I think I would put it on the first one as the victory lap with the new times on there, and then I would announce like, hey, here's the new times and whatnot. Well, everybody joined that playlist. Everyone that hot lapped it. Um, you know, Nina. I don't know if you guys remember Nina Bird. He was in there. Well, Abyss Rebels in there, and there's a lot of drivers. Of course, Puffy and a few others. It was fast. There's all these people that joined it. I think Oximo was in that. But anyhow, and then Neo Dark Shadow joined. Like, I remember being in the party, And Manny, we have this public, back then there were public parties, you could just join it. So Manny was in there and Puffy, they're all joining the party to get the invite to the playlist. And we're all chit chatting and talking, right? And then Neil Dark Shadow joins the party, and he doesn't really talk, and it gets quiet. It just gets quiet in the party because at that time, this is what Manny told me. Manny's a fast driver. Manny, aka Yolo. He said at that time when Neil joined, we all knew we were going to lose a play. So it got quiet. We loaded it up. We got in there, and the first track was Chaparral Climb, and I would announce it, and then like an asshole, I said, it's kind of a. I later talked to Neil Dark Shadow about it, but I mentioned it, and I said on open mic during the playlist, like, all right, Neil Dark Shadow, you hot lapped and you won the time trial, but hot lapping's one thing, racing's another. Everybody's here that did the time trial. We all know the track. Let's see if you can win it. It's kind of an asshole thing to say, but that's what I said. I don't know if you heard it or not. I don't know how many people heard it, but I did kind of call him out, like, prove it, right? You're definitely, hot lapping, you're the fastest, but racing live with all these people, it's a different thing. Put the track to 5 laps. They start running it, and it's packed, 30 players, and you see, it's the first time I've ever seen it. Well, you look on the mini map, because I started racing, everybody passed me up, and at some point I'm just going to pull over, and I just pulled over kind of by the finish line. And I would look at the map, and there was just this big ball of dots in the front, like the biggest cluster. You couldn't even make out the dot. There must have been like 10 dots racing together. There's all non-compact, and they're just going through the track. And I'm like, you see it drive by, and it's just this blob of cars just going by. And as for the first 3 laps, you would see one driver pull up, and like, you see Abyss, or you would see maybe Need a Burger. There's a bunch of other names that I'm forgetting. Or Manny, they will pull up, take the lead. You see who got the lead, and then they will lose it to somebody else. And for the first 2 or 3 laps, you didn't see Neil Dark Shadow's name. And it was like, man, if he doesn't win it, I'm gonna feel really like an asshole. I kind of called him out. And they're all that blob just keep going. And every so often, somebody will hit apex prop or whatever, and they're out. You ain't gonna catch up to that blob, right? And so it gets smaller every lap. About the 3rd lap, you start seeing Neil's name start popping up. He's taking the lead, and like he started getting up towards the top of that blob. And about halfway through the 5th lap, you start seeing, or halfway through the 5th lap, or the beginning of the 5th lap, you start seeing his name more often. And halfway through it, you just see Neil Dark Shadow's name, and you wouldn't see anybody else's name pop up. And it's halfway through the lap, and I looked on the map, and you just see one dot of that blob a little bit ahead of the rest. And he just went into like Neil Dark Shadow power, like at the time where nobody else could go. Like, and I was there at the finish line. You see him pass, and the blob right behind him, and he wins the race with everybody there with the pressure on. And I had said, hey, you're the real deal. Like, as advertised, you're the fastest driver, and he proved it. Now that was the best moment right there. Just seeing that and being there.
That's a super cool story.
Yeah, it is really cool.
Thanks for sharing that. We have a question from one of our viewers, one of my favorite people on GTA, Mr. Goodfella, and he says, how do you balance, if you don't mind sharing, your outside life with also being a crew leader? And that's something I'm particularly interested in.
I was curious.
So if you wouldn't mind, speaking on that a little bit.
Oh, okay. I didn't expect that kind of a question. Well, back then I did a lot of work, building it and promoting it. So there was a lot of work put in, and I'm self-employed, so I'm able to, move my schedule around as needed. And I know back then I put a lot of hours in programming, but like I said, it wasn't just me back then. There was a group of us. Like, I didn't build the website, I didn't get drivers for the car meet. That was ironic, and block build the website. I didn't do anything for colors. To this day, we have a great color. We have 4, it's called Core Custom Colors. We have like 3 of them filled up, or I think we've got 4 now. There's thousands of people there. And there's a color every week on time. I don't do any of that. That's Zamir does that. The car meets, I don't host them. That's Brad. He hosts the car meets, right? I just show up when I can. So it's always been a group of us. It's just not one person, and that helps out a lot. But back in the beginning, yeah, I put a lot of hours in, and it burns you out a little bit hosting, and you get a little bit of
Imagine.
short fuse when
Hmm.
someone's like going backwards on a track. It's like, you know how much out for everyone that hosts out there, they felt it like, you know how many hours you put into this, and you're just gonna take advantage of it. So
Yeah.
I don't appreciate that much. But anyhow, the thing is, um, and as of now, it kind of runs itself, and we kind of built it to where it's a platform where people could do because we have a base of members that they've all been, they all know the rules. They've proven themselves to be good members where they're not going to blow up the car meet or go backwards. They're all cool. And we've always designed it so if someone else wants to run an event off of our members in our platform, a member wants to do that. A member in good standing, that's been there. You show up the first day, I'm not going to support it. Someone that's put into it. Um, they will, you know, you could start it off and you'll have at least maybe 10, 15 core members in there that are, they're going to back you up because
Hmm.
it's kind of like approved. And Carl pans around, he does the crash unit on Saturday. He utilizes that. And I don't have nothing to do with it, you
Yep.
know. And I remember he came up and said, "Hey, you got a good member space. It's well attended. It's on time. Everyone's doing their part. And he wanted to make his own playlist with our members base. And I'm like, yeah, show me the tracks. And man, those tracks are crazy. But I didn't think it was gonna be successful. It's a great success. It's a full lobby over there, and they're doing well. And he's got the base of members. So in case someone is going backwards like a random, they could all stop, and vote them out. And he didn't start that playlist with a bunch of randoms. He started it with members that are all gonna work together to help the event. That's the key thing. Is you have a lot of help. You got people that want the community to be successful and these events to go on, and they're all going to do their part. Even if they're just attending and they're being cool, they're not, disruptive. They're doing their part. Same thing with you, probably, Jeremy. You got an amazing crew over there, a lot of events. You're not doing it all. You can't.
Oh, for sure. No, 100%. 100%. I completely agree with everything you said. Um, so we're getting a lot of comments here on a certain particular subject, and I was told to say the $10 story. We've
Let's
gotten
hear
that
about that.
comment about 4 times, so I'm kind of interested now with that story. They
People
said you
would
would
like to
know.
know.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean,
I'm sorry if it puts you on the spot.
okay, I
I
won't
don't know
say
what it
names.
is.
I won't say names. How's that? So
Okay.
people in the chat,
That's fair.
Fair enough. Fair
can't,
enough.
you can't mention any names or any initials or hint to any names. But I will tell you the $10 story. So we did these time trials, monthly time trials. Well, they lasted for the first year. Then I stopped doing them. And then about 3, 4 years later, I said, hey, let's do another time trial. So I made a track. Um, we won't mention it. But I made a track. It's a great track. It's a really, actually, really good track. Good time trial track. Oh man, it's called Grapeseed Speedway. And we did the time trial for 1 month. And you had to submit your video, and same deal. If you get the fastest video, fastest lap on video, you get your name on the track. And we had the top five. Well, this one individual that was in core really wanted his name on the track. And when you make the crew, you always think of scenarios like what's going to happen in the future if someone blows up a car. I mean, like, do we just kick them? Warn them? You think of these how to
Yeah, different
run the
scenarios.
crew. And yeah, I never thought of this one because he he really wanted the time, so he ended up offering $10. And I thought the
To
track was
get
worth more than offering $10 to a fast driver to use his account to hot lap the track and get the fastest time.
that is very
So,
odd.
so you could post it, pawn it off as it like he did it, but he really didn't. And this guy's a fast driver. Like he's a real fast driver. And I later spoke to him, like saying, "You probably got the lap." Is like I don't know. I was always a couple seconds short, like a fraction of a second. I couldn't get it, so I was just gonna pay this guy who could probably get it. And that guy was banned from the
Oh
from
man,
sport gaming and all the events because he's gone backwards, and he's actually banned in a lot of events.
damn.
And he paid him $10 to do it, and the guy that how I found out is the guy that was paid or was going to be paid $10 to do it. He messaged me, or I got him blocked, but he got word to me saying, "Hey, I got some information you want to know. Information you should know. If you unban me, I'll tell you."
Oh,
And
bribing.
yeah, I'm not going to
Interesting.
ban you, and it's not that important of information, right? So I still got the info on it, and I spoke to the person, and he admitted to it, and it was just silly, you know. And maybe I was never offended, more just kind of sad, you know. But I told him at least it's worth $20, but who offers $10? It's
$10
$20.
seems a little. That's a
Yeah,
little
at least
So
low to me.
low ball
$20
offer.
is the going rate.
This is to say he doesn't get the time, and he just wasted $10. Could have wasted
Yeah,
$20.
that actually happened. It was a real deal, and I didn't know how to react to it, and it's kind of like, you know, I guess it's kind of sad, but he took it well. The guy that started, you know, the whole $10, he still raced with us, and he took it well, but we gave him a hard time for years about that. Every time the track came up, the $10 register came out. Like, hey, I got, you know, $10 if you win it or whatever. But he took it well. He took it well.
That's
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 funny.
very it's a very unique story. I don't think I've ever heard of anybody trying to bribe another person to get a lap time.
Yeah, that actually happened. It really, really did. I was surprised.
Um, I've actually just been reading some of these comments, and here's one that I would like to know. Migas a couple minutes ago asked, "Why did you name the track Black Dog, Black Dog?"
Um, so you know this. I named it. There's a story about that track, not about the name, but just the track itself. But you guys familiar with the? Did you guys do your homework for the podcast? Are you guys familiar with the track?
Yeah,
Do you guys
yeah,
know the
Oh
fastest
yeah.
of
lap
course.
time on it?
Oh yeah.
I don't know
I
the fastest lap time on it. Someone in
it's
there
got
knows the fastest lap time on it.
it's a low 1-2 minute, I think. I believe.
I think
I've
if someone could post
attempted
with the
a few times
fastest
to
lap
get
time. Oh
the
yeah,
lap. It's very
yeah.
hard.
I don't know if I think Gamer DJ Migas would know it if he posted on there. I can't remember. It's in the Osiris that you
If
guys
you know
use.
it, if you know it, post it in chat right now.
The short answer is uh, you know, it's hard to think of a name for a track, and
Yeah.
so early on I would name tracks after Led Zeppelin songs. I'm a
Mhm.
big I like the band, and so I would name songs up. And one of them was called Heartbreaker. It's this hill track. They wrote a song called Heartbreaker.
Oh
Um,
wow. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and
Starting to
then
piece it together now.
yeah, and then when I made track Black Dog, and I thought it was amazing when I made it. I was like, man, this is the best track. It just has all the right racing lines. It's very it just it just had that thing to me. And that old crew I was in, I showed it to them because they had like Heartbreaker and they had like Chaparral Climb. And I showed it to them, and they're like, "That track sucks." They fucking hated it. And I was like,
Wow.
like I just couldn't get it. Nobody liked it from that old crew, and I was just so kind of upset, you know. Like we like Chaparral Climb. I was like, yeah, I like it too, but this is a good track. So when we did the event, right, I was going to put my best tracks on there. I didn't put Black Dog on there because everybody hated it. And I put Chaparral Climb and Heartbreaker and Pro GTA, Pacific Coast Grand Prix. Sneaky Sneaky is kind of a weird track, but I put that in there. Anyhow, I'm Pump It Up, but I didn't put Black Dog in there. I just buried it because everybody in my old crew hated it, and I never put it on the playlist on the weekly playlist because it was supposedly a bad track. Well, one guy, a guy from Topanga from GTA Race Crew, he really liked my tracks, and he was hot lapping them, and I think he's the one that found it, and he would put on his YouTube channel, got a fastest time on single loop. There was a track called single loop, and I got a fastest time on Heartbreaker or whatever. And he was going through my social club, and I guess he seen Black Dog, which is kind of a cool name. If you don't know the song, like, what the hell is that, So he clicked on it, and he started hot lapping that and posted a faster time. And I think that's where it started. Other people seen it.
And it kind
They
of
started
had the trickle down effect of fast drivers trying to beat
exactly,
each
and
other's laps. Yeah.
everybody started doing. I never put Black Dog on a time trial. I never put it in any play. I just buried it because it was supposed to be a bad track, and I've always loved it. And they ended up, the community itself found it, hot lapped it, and made that track what it is, which is, if you want to prove how fast you are, go beat the lap time on Black Dog in the right car. And I seen that, like, I'm never gonna touch that track. I'm just gonna leave it the way it is, and I have. I took the pedestrians out of it, and that was it. I'm never gonna touch it. It is what it is, and they, like, you can make the track, but it's the community that defines what it is. And they made that a hot lap track, and I'm grateful for it. And I want to tell my old crew, like, I told you so, but they're all gone. But yeah, I was almost gonna delete it because they really gave me a hard time about it. But yeah, it's named after a Led Zeppelin song.
Very, very, very interesting. I mean, I I figured that's what it was named after, and I know a couple people in the chat.
And
But
Miguel asked that?
yeah, he I'm
Oh my
assuming he
God.
knew before, but he would have, like, he wanted the viewers to know.
Migas
But
helped me out a lot early on in the to find the racing community and to fill up that playlist. And Migas did a lot of work back then. He knew a lot of drivers.
and I've seen Migos. I've actually used for his streams because I know he's one of the longest running streamers in the community. Um,
So
You know what?
I'm
If
looking
someone
at.
does the work, yeah.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead, Daniel.
No, if you do the work, you could find that he was there too when Neil Dark Shadow did the that what I described the best moment. It's on his live stream. You just got to find it.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know where it's at. It's 2015. There'll be 100 of them in 2015. I think it was. There's a date for a month on Chaparral Climb, so maybe someone could find it. But I think I got the month wrong when I posted it up there. Someone said you got the month wrong, so I think it's the month ahead. It's in those 2 months, I guess. But yeah, Migos will have that. He's recorded a lot of the core playlists.
Well, we got time for a couple more questions. DJ the Fox wants to know what loss you got this week, Daniel. I'm
Oh,
assuming I'm assuming that's an inside thing.
well, after, okay, I've hosted that core playlist twice a week for seven. It's going on 7 years, 6 years,
Hmm.
and I've only won one race on there. Legitly won one race in those 7.5 years. So I took a lot of losses, and that was against Demonic Puffy, and he didn't let me have it. He wrecked, and I took it from him. It's a true story, and I think he kept the recording. But I got 18,000 losses. I just reached the last playlist.
Wow.
18,000.
What's your favorite car in the game, Daniel?
Feltzer and the Turismo. Turismo, Feltzer.
Turismo and
That's
Filter
it's a good.
Uh,
I love the Turismo.
combo
That's
there.
one of
Turismo
my.
is an amazing car. Yeah. If GTA is going to change here, I hope that they don't change the driver mechanics on these old cars like the Piss Wasser or the Dominator.
Yeah, there's been a lot of mixed opinions about that, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Do you think that what are your opinions on some of these new cars that have been coming out recently compared to the older cars?
Though the cars were the best, the driver mechanics, the physics of it were the best by far. Um, the newer cars, I like the tuner class, but they just recently changed it. They changed all the mechanics on it. But when the tuner class first came out, it was pretty fun.
How
Get
about
out there.
your favorite in real life car?
Oh, I don't. It's just trucks. I drive Toyota trucks. I also got a Ford truck. I owned a '65 Volkswagen.
Ooh,
Oh wow.
nice.
Yeah, yeah. I sold it to a good friend of mine. He's restoring it because I just had it sitting there. But no, I'm a pretty tall person. I don't like these small cars. I got, I drive trucks, man. I got some room.
You gotta have room to fit. But
Yeah, the Pagani. That's my real life car. That's it. That's Brad
y-
just posted Pagani.
yeah, yeah.
He's the
Let's
one that posts our comments on Sundays. The one I
Oh,
left to do this podcast.
oh yeah. I I'm assuming you like to bring the Pigalle a lot.
Uh, yeah, yeah. It, yeah, they give me a hard my crew gives me a hard time for it. They don't like it. I have a Pagali's owners club and yet they won't allow us to have a car. They keep breaking it up. But we will.
Joel Bostic says 5'3" isn't tall.
That's that's funny.
Well, anyway,
Well,
Jeremy, do we have anything else we want to add?
I would just like to say thank you for coming on and sharing your story and for the pilot episode.
For
We're
sure, sure.
we're hoping to get more people on here and hear what they have to say and tell their story and to how they got into the GTA racing scene and just scene in general. So do appreciate you being the first guest. If there's anything else you want to say, share before we get going, we'd love to hear it. But I do
yeah.
thank you
Well,
for coming on.
I do want to say something. I hope this is a success. And if you anyone, everyone, there's 24 people watching. Subscribe to Power Jeremy if you haven't already, and keep
Yeah,
doing it. Keep
yeah.
doing it, and
Now,
hopefully it grows.
since we've been on, Jeremy's gained 2 subscribers.
Right on. Well, hopefully we'll get a
Nice.
couple more.
Subscribe to Randy as well. So Vapid Gamer, his channel is Wreckin' Randy. It will be pinned in my description here after this video is posted. But if you search him up on YouTube, Wreckin' Randy. Uh,
Fair
he's got
warning, you
a
might see a lot of the same title. That's just because I'm too lazy to change it on PlayStation. They do get changed later. Don't worry about that.
he's a good driver. He's fun to watch, for sure.
Well, I
That was
think we'll.
awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on. I mean, this is great. We'll be doing, like Jeremy said, we'll be doing this every so often. We don't have a set schedule yet, but I'm sure at some point down the road we will. But anyway, thanks for everybody who tuned in. I'm looking at it right now, and we've got 21 people still watching. So thanks, guys.
You want to tell him
Uh,
about that next guest, Mr. Vapid?
should
Potential
we?
potential next
Potential?
guest?
Should we? You know what? Yeah,
You should do it.
we'll just say it. Jeremy over here has been working on a very special guest. Those of you who have played GTA possibly know the name Brune Tango. Um, I'll leave it at that. Hopefully, we can get him on. It's looking very likely at this point in time. So for the next episode, we just stay tuned is all I can say.
He has agreed to it, so we're just waiting on a date. So stay tuned for that. That'll be a crazy follow-up episode. Daniel, thank you again so much, for coming on. For me, you were one of my inspirations for how I wanted to, eventually run my crew. So, thank you for that as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story. Vapid, thank you for co-hosting with me. And
Anytime. Always, always.
we'll wrap that up with the first episode of Torque Talk. Thank
See
you
you
all for
next time.
joining.